What's going on, guys? It's the Variety Film Brothers. I'm Andrew.
I'm Thomas.
Welcome to Variety Discussion. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Avengers. We're finally at the end of Phase 1. As much as I love it, it only took us 8 months to get through it, so I'm kind of glad to be wrapping it up. We're going to try to get through Phase 2 much faster, despite there being, like, double the content. But this movie is really good, guys. Like, I think everyone can agree that it's at least decent. A lot of people I have noticed have it like in their top 3, top 5. I don't think it's quite there for me, but it is very good. What do you think?
Yeah, like there's a lot of movies that I think are better than this, but this is definitely not the worst.
Oh no, for sure. Like very good stuff here.
Yeah.
Really, there's nothing that's even all that bad. A lot of it's kind of just mid for me. Tom Hiddleston as Loki is easily the best part of it. Like I could gush about his performance all day.
Yeah.
He did such a good job. Even the scenes where he's being held captive, he feels like he has all the control. And it is so good. One of the few things I think this movie really does struggle with, though, is really, like, having enough time for all the characters. Because, like, Thor has, like, almost nothing to do in this movie. Really nobody has, like, an arc, I don't think. Like, no one really changes through this movie. Like, and that's kind of the good thing about the MCU, is, like, when you get characters across like the span of so many movies, you do get a larger character arc, like over the span of a few movies. But like in ones like this where there's just so much happening, there's not really a lot of emotional growth. I guess you could argue like the Avengers as a team kind of have an arc, because something I really like is that they don't all really like each other that much, and they argue quite a bit. So I guess you could say they kind of have an arc as a team. You know, they learn to come together and not like
hate each other.
Yeah, like want to murder the entire team. But I guess just starting from the first scene. So we have Loki coming through the portal into one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s headquarters, something like that. They kind of, like, I don't know exactly how much, like, money S.H.I.E.L.D. has. Sometimes it feels like they have a lot. Sometimes it doesn't really feel like a whole lot. But so Loki comes in, and actually before that, there's this really funny, like, Hawkeye moment that I couldn't help but write down. So Nick Fury comes up to Selvig, and he's just like, "Where's Barton?" And he's like, "Oh, the hawk. He's up in its nest." And like Hawkeye's just like, he's like bent over, just like staring down at the ground with a lot of very unjustified ferocity.
Yeah.
Like he's mad about something. Like he really hates being Hawkeye.
He's just like doing this, just like, scanning.
Yep, like a literal hawk. Like, so I mean, I guess he's kind of in the right ballpark, but it's just so funny because like Hawkeye, everyone can agree is like easily the lamest one of the team. Yeah. But like he tries to act so cool, like, and that's not on Jeremy Renner. That's just like how they've written his character. Like he thinks he's really cool.
Yeah, it's just like scanning. I hate my job.
It's so funny. But then Loki comes in, and something that we talked a little bit about is they really should not have made the Mind Stone blue in Loki's scepter, because like the Space Stone / Tesseract is blue, and like it's already hard for most people just to remember what the Power Stone, or see, I don't even know what I'm talking about, what the Infinity Stones like are. You know what I mean? So like mixing up the colors just adds this layer of like confusion. The Power Stone isn't even in this movie, and I said Power Stone, so like I'm a huge MCU nerd, and that was enough to like start tripping me up. But like I think they should have defined the powers of each stone a little bit better, because like Space Stone opens portals, okay. Mind Stone can like take over people's minds, sure, but like they can also like shoot lasers and do a bunch of other crazy stuff. So I would have maybe liked to have that laid out a little bit better. I don't know, maybe that's just my 2 brain cells struggling. And then Nick Fury gets shot. Nick Fury gets shot a lot in the MCU, and he does a great job of just walking it off. Like, dude has gotten just... Nick Fury's been through so much, man. But I actually do... This is kind of a really small thing. I do kind of like the effect that they have, like, on the characters' eyes when they're being affected by the Mind Stone. They look, like, extra blue. And it's really interesting. It would have been really easy to go with something, like, overdone, like all black or all white. Maybe that would have been better, because it would have definitely been creepier, but I think I preferred the more original decision of just like adding this blue color to it. I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't make sense because it's the Mind Stone and not the Space Stone.
Should be yellow.
See, like, you see, like, you guys agree, right? This is a little complicated.
Yeah.
It's not just me, but so there are a lot of really good individual scenes in this movie, even though like the movie as a whole like isn't a 10 out of 10 to me. But like I really like the scene where Natasha has to recruit Bruce. I really like that scene. There's a lot of tension in it, and I know this is gonna get me like some hate, but I actually prefer Mark Ruffalo's performance over Edward Norton's back in The Incredible Hulk. I just like Mark Ruffalo's demeanor more. I like that he's like, because he really is anxious. Just like for someone who isn't trying to show anxiety or even have anxiety, he's pretty anxious a lot of the time. And I think Mark Ruffalo just portrays that better because Edward Norton, I think he tries to like really be kind of like a tough guy. You know what I mean? But I don't think Bruce Banner it really is like a tough guy, you know. But that's totally just me. And another thing, bringing up the Incredible Hulk, you really don't even need to watch that movie to know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like later on in this video, can't believe I forgot to mention it. We're actually going to rank all of the Phase 1 Marvel movies, and we're going to do that at the end of each phase. So stick around to the end of the video for that. But again, you really don't even need to watch the Incredible Hulk. You really don't. Like you can totally skip it and have no like missed information. You can totally completely understand what's going on here.
Because like if you watch the movie, like later on, Tony says, "Hey, I love your work, but I also love the way you turn into a big, angry, green rage monster." You know, like
yeah, even if you have
for you,
if you have no idea who the Hulk is, bam, you just found out. But so next up we get Steve's entrance into the movie, good old Captain America, and he is beating the absolute crap out of some punching bags. And so as he's doing that, he's like flashing back. I don't know if like he's thinking about the things that happened like in his movie because we get like these like flashes of like recap scenes from Captain America: The First Avenger. And honestly, I don't think he needed it. I think that would have been a much more tense scene if it would have just stayed on him because we know what he's thinking about. Like this takes place like just a week after that movie ends, like a week after he wakes up, something like that. It's definitely less than a year. So like I feel like if you just kind of like have a nice long shot in on him, you know, like it's going to be pretty clear what he's thinking about.
Yeah.
But it is a good scene though. I think the chemistry between really all the characters in this movie is pretty good. Like even when the chemistry is not good, it's very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I also like how much Coulson just like totally geeks out around Steve. Like I have to admit, I'm not really the biggest fan of Agent Coulson. Again, I know that's a very unpopular opinion. I just don't think he's much of a character. Like, I just don't think there's a whole lot to him. But I also haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I actually do really, like, I don't know what to think about that show. Because it's not technically part of the MCU. I really don't know. They've gone back and forth so much on that. But if you decide that it is in the MCU, then, like, that show, having Agent Coulson be the main character, and like revealing that he lived really takes like some of the punch out of this movie. You know what I mean? That's one of the many reasons I just won't watch that show.
I never watched the show.
I never did either. So I watched the first 2 episodes and I really did not like it. It's not a great time, but back on track. Steve's suit in this movie is terrible. I don't like the Captain America suit. What do you think?
I mean, I don't really pay much attention to the actual suit because it kind of looks similar like throughout every movie, at least in my eyes.
Similar enough.
At least in my eyes, so it's just like thinking, oh, that's Captain America's suit. Looks okay.
Blue, white, red. That's all you need.
Has a star on it.
It's too like skin tight. Like it's going too much back to the comics, I think. Like obviously, I'm not saying like we shouldn't have anything based on the comics because then we wouldn't have the MCU. But, like, I feel like you need to adapt it just enough. You know what I mean? And they kind of just kept it a little bit too much into the comic book aesthetic for me. And in my opinion, that's just why it looks kind of weird in live action. But again, totally just me. Stark's entrance into the Cap versus Loki fight, though, in Germany, I think it was. I think that should have been the first scene we'd see Tony Stark. I kind of skipped over, but we have this little scene where he, like, fixes some kind of pipe or something, and then he's all like, yeah, this Stark Tower is running completely on its own energy, and we're we're all about the environment.
And we're so rich.
Yeah. And then we see like Coulson like recruit him or whatever and give him some information on the Avengers. And like, well, we already had a scene before that where Coulson told Natasha that he was gonna recruit Stark. So in my opinion, it would have just been like a better reveal if like we kind of didn't like just casually see Tony. Like he actually like the first scene we see him in, like he's actually doing something. That's just me. Because this movie is just a tad bit longer than I think it really needs to be. Like I feel like if maybe they could cut down on like 10 or 15 minutes, the pacing would be a little bit better.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Like, this movie tries to be funny with some of it. I mean, some of them is funny, but it's like kind of like a little bit funny. But yeah, I think they probably could cut like half of those scenes and save some time.
Yeah, I agree. There were some really good jokes in this movie, and like a lot of really like memorable quotes and memes that people still throw around today. So that's pretty cool. We definitely have this movie to thank for that. But like when you, because I'd say only about maybe half the jokes land, you know. But so like when you tell a bad joke, or at least in this case one just doesn't work, it really like hurts the pacing. I think it can make a 15-second scene feel like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but it's not all bad. And then a little bit after Stark's introduction, or what I thought should have been his introduction, watching it again this time, they capture Loki, and then Thor arrives, which is a really cool scene. I like how we like kind of see him in the midst of like a thunderstorm, land on the plane, all of that, very cool. And then he takes Loki back. They have a nice little discussion, but I really don't like the excuse that Thor has for being back on Earth, because if you guys remember the end of Thor, which we just covered not too long ago, the movie ended with Thor destroying the Bifrost. That's what it's called, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm totally blank on names today. The Infinity Stone thing just has me like all screwed up. But so Thor destroyed the Bifrost, and that was supposed to be like a really big decision because like now he can't see Jane again, but apparently he can just be, you know, shot everywhere, anywhere he really wants to with dark magic, whatever that is, which sounds much more like Loki's thing than Odin's.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't really. I feel like we could have come up with something a little better than that, guys. Like, I'd honestly rather just say, oh, we fixed the Bifrost, because they ended up doing that by Thor: The Dark World anyway. So like, might as well just fix it, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like, imagine Thor going to Otis. You're like, okay, so I want to see Jane today, and then he goes, oh my god, for the 6th time, you already been there for like an hour. Like it's been an hour.
That's so much dark magic, Thor. We only have so much dark magic. That's what he does. He spins his arms around and makes a dark magic tornado. That's what happens. But the fight between Tony and Thor is really good. It's like really awesome, super entertaining, and also makes for some really good callbacks later in Endgame. Like, you know how Thor, you know, shoots some lightning at Tony, and like he kind of absorbs it, but not like too well. And then like in Endgame, we see he's upgraded his suit to like basically fully utilize Thor's lightning. Little things like that really make the MCU great. Like it's really great.
Yeah, like it shows characters throughout these fights how like they can use weapons that were not meant to help them, but used against them, to where they can use them together to make something more powerful.
Right, and it really just improves like their whole like team chemistry as well when they have, you know, like kind of these combo attacks, and you know, they just learn how to work with each other better. It's really cool to see. That's pretty much all I wrote down, because after this the movie actually gets like quite a bit more entertaining in my opinion. Like maybe except for the scenes where like Thor is just kind of like walking around after he falls out, and then he kind of reaches for his hammer, and I don't really know what's supposed to be going on there. I don't know if he's just kind of like out of it, just kind of like tired, or if like he's not worthy for like 5 minutes.
He's just rethinking his life decisions. Like,
that's kind of what it looks like.
I should have just stayed with Jade. No, Jane.
Jane.
Yeah, Jane. I keep on saying Jade. I should have stayed with Jane. And
he's just like, I could walk away from this right now.
Screw it.
Yeah. Then like later on, like, yeah, we have that scene, and then we don't see Thor again for like 30 minutes, and then we have a scene where he's just like making some lightning in the field. Like, it's just, this isn't really character development. movie. I don't.
It's just Thor being bored.
It's pretty much. Pretty much. It definitely made me a little bored.
Yeah.
But I also kind of like the scene with Bruce and that one old dude, and he's just kind of like, "Are you an alien?" No.
No.
It's just a funny little scene. I don't know.
But you were butt ass naked though.
Yeah.
And you really need to cover up.
Yeah, poor old man. But
Oh, we saw both.
yeah.
Oh no.
But yeah, poor guy. But as soon as we start the Battle of New York, which I think is like easily the most like memorable part of this movie, because like I swear every other MCU movie for the next like 10 years references the Battle of New York in some way. Like it is definitely overdone. It's actually kind of something I was worried about, like going back to this movie, like because the MCU later on references it so much.
Mhm.
I was kind of worried I'd be sick of it watching it again, but like I don't think we've watched this movie in like at least a year, so I wasn't sick of it. I was kind of worried I would like get bored and want to like take a nap, but it is a really good battle. It's a really good, what, like 30 minutes probably.
Yeah.
We get to see at least like one or two really good moments from every single Avenger in that scene, so I'd say it's pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like, I would say, like, the one kind of iffy part was, Black Widow, but, like, Black Widow is, like, a hand-to-hand, like, martial arts character, so, like, you really can't, like, have some really good scenes with her fighting the aliens, unless you make her do, like, 15 flips in a row.
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty generic stuff at this point, you know, you've got, like, a completely expendable army, you know, and you've got a giant sky beam. It's pretty generic stuff, you know. We've seen it a lot of times before, but I think this was the first one to like really do it. So this one kind of gets away with that. It still kind of feels like its own thing, and it's not just like recycling a lot of, you know, like classic overdone like superhero movie elements. But I think one of my favorite moments is when Tony has like grabbed the missile and he's gone up into the portal, and he just kind of has a moment when he's falling back down, and he's just like, you know, this could be it. And it makes me wonder, like, if people actually thought Tony was going to die here, because I did see this movie, like, when it came out. And I personally didn't think that Tony was going to die. But I wonder if people actually were thinking that. And say that was how Tony died, I think that'd actually be a pretty decent death. Like, I mean, it'd be a real disservice to only have 2 movies with him at that point, especially since one of those was Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
But if that was how Tony Stark actually went, I'd kind of be okay with it, looking back at it now. I mean, I'm very glad that it wasn't, but if that was how it had to work out, like if Robert Downey Jr. was just like, yeah, this movie was weird, I'm done, I'm pulling out here, I don't care how much money you're giving me, this is too whack, I could have lived with it.
Mm-hmm.
And as it is, since he didn't die there, I actually really like how that goes into Iron Man 3 and like the PTSD he has in that movie. And we'll get to Iron Man 3 when we get there, which will actually be a little while from now because we're taking a break from the MCU after this one. But I think that actually is one of the reasons why I really like that movie so much. And like just like I said, you know, you get these arcs for characters like that span through several movies, and that's not something you get in a lot of things. So that's really something that the MCU does well when it wants to. Not really in Phase 4, but
I mean, no. I mean, it's kind of funny in Iron Man 3 how like this like 8-year-old kid just like goes up to Tony and be like, so what did it feel like in the wormhole?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh god, panic attack.
not the wormhole.
No.
But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah.
I've actually been through all of my notes. This is a really fun movie to watch, and it was actually one that I kind of had trouble taking notes during because, like, for one, it's a really nostalgic one to me. So, like, it's kind of hard for me to not, like, focus all my attention on that. What about you? Do you have anything else?
I have one more. There was the scene where we see Thanos.
Yes,
And
I'm very glad.
Weird.
I'm very glad you mentioned that. Thanos looks very different in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's pretty distracting, especially the shot where he like puts his hand on the chair and it's literally just like a human hand like painted purple, like because Thanos is supposed to be very buff, you know, like they definitely like in every single shot that his hands are in Infinity War, they are not human hands painted purple. And it's very weird. Like you can tell they definitely didn't have like the CG totally thought out for that. They didn't exactly know what his final design was going to be, but I have to give this movie huge points, honestly, for just, like, having established Thanos at all. Like, this came out in 2012, and Infinity War came out in 2018.
Wow.
So that's like they planned out 6 years in advance, and I mean I'm sure things changed along the way, but like they knew what they were gonna do, and like I
So
miss that about the MCU.
I'm so glad they changed the design though.
Oh, for
Oh
sure.
my god, the face
For
is
sure.
bad.
It's a very different shade of purple. Like the eyes are
Yeah.
different. He had like a different helmet, I think, that he uses in the comics in this one, and I didn't like that at all. So I'm very glad that they did those design changes. But like, I really have to give them props for planning that out.
Yeah, 6 years in advance. That's a long time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like that's one of the biggest gripes I have about Phase 4 is I don't feel like things are planned out at all. Like it feels like one project is completely different than the next project, and then like 2 movies or 2 shows from now, that first one didn't even matter. I mean, like, tell me what like Shang-Chi has like connected to WandaVision. Like nothing. But like take 2 MCU movies. Like what does Iron Man 2 have with Thor? It leads directly into Thor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean like I'm not saying they're all gonna be like that, and they don't all have to be, but like I feel like they just tried harder to make that interconnected universe really work in Phase 1. So like Phase 1 honestly might be my favorite MCU phase. I don't know. Phase 2 and 3 are actually pretty good. I don't know if I mean that.
I don't really know the phases that well, and I probably should now. But I mean, I just looked at it as a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much everything we have on this movie. Pretty much everything. So what would you have to score this one?
I would probably give it an 86.
That is the exact score I was going to give.
Really?
86.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very good. Could have been a little bit better. But honestly, I think for the time, it's about the best it could have been. I think they learned after that how to make MCU movies a little bit better. But this was really the one that shot the MCU's popularity just into the stratosphere. Because, like, Iron Man was good, and people were like, okay.
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk was not good. People were like, whatever. Iron Man 2 was not very good. People were like, whatever. And then Thor and Captain America were decent. People were still like, whatever. And then the Avengers came out, and then they were like, okay. Like, not too bad. Okay, so, as promised, we're going to go through our ranking of all of the Phase 1 MCU movies. That's right, all 6 of them. Yeah, we were up all night last night, guys. Yeah. So you can't tell us we are not dedicated if you want to go on and flip to that. All right, so my list starting from number 6 and going to number 1, 6 being worst, 1 being best. 6, we have Incredible Hulk. 5, Iron Man 2. It pained me to put Iron Man 2 there because I do love it. I do love Tony Stark. But, you know, if you watched our review of that or you've just seen the movie, you know it's kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
Better than the Incredible Hulk, but pretty much any MCU movie is. Yeah. And then at number 4, we have Captain America. 3, we have Thor. I know people aren't going to be happy about that. At 2, we have the Avengers, and 1, we have Iron Man. So, dude, Iron Man's just so good. I had to put it at number 1 on this list. The Avengers, very good as well. But, like, Iron Man is an A movie to me.
Yeah.
The Avengers, I'm comfortable giving that a B. But Iron Man is worth an A. All right, so give me yours.
Okay, so same thing as Andrew. Start from 6, going to 1. 6 is The Incredible Hulk. 5 is Iron Man 2. 4 is Thor. 3 is Captain America. 2 is The Avengers. And 1 is Iron Man. So pretty much
the same. And I honestly think Thomas's list is probably the right one here. I think objectively Captain America is probably a better movie than Thor. I just prefer Thor as a character, and I just really like the really clear like character growth that Thor has in that movie. Like it's very clear. He starts out being a jerk, and at the very end he's kind of nice. I just think that, you know, I think we kind of just need more clear character arcs like that. Yeah. You know? So like the scene where he makes them breakfast, I just think that's cool. It's just like, hey, Thor's not being a douche. He's making pancakes. So anything else you wanted to talk about on the list there?
No, but I do like to say that Thor knows how to cook better than Tony.
Oh yeah, it only took Thor apparently like a day to learn how to make pancakes, but Tony was on this earth for like 30 years at the point of Iron Man 2 and can't make an omelet. That's pretty sad, dude. That's pretty sad. I think that's just about it for this video though.
Mm-hmm.
Considering we did a review and a ranking in one video, I'm kind of surprised we were able to fit that in 25 minutes.
No, I mean it was just 6 movies.
It was just 6 movies, but still,
it's a lot.
It's quite a bit
for us.
For us. I think that's gonna wrap us up, though. Anything else you wanted to say?
I think so.
All right, that's gonna be it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video, especially if you've made it to this point. Be sure to give the video a like and comment down below if there's anything you want to say about the movie or how terrible our rankings are. And subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Almost knocked the camera over.